is 2 by 69. Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's been a second, I know. Yes, I'm sorry. And I've decided to kind of like wander into a different type of content. That being reading ASMR. So, as you see the title, as you read it, I am reading American Psycho by Bret Easton Ellis. So, we're gonna read a bit of this, and yeah, hope you guys relax and go to sleep. This book doesn't really have titles, it just has kind of like topics, or just like events. Yeah, it just has like events and stuff. Anyway, let's get into it. April Fools. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here, is scrawled in blood red lettering on the side of the chemical bank near the corner of 11th and 1st, and is in print large enough to be seen from the backseat of the cab as it lurches forward in the traffic leaving Wall Street. And just as Timothy Price notices the words as a buzz pulls up, the advertisement for lay miserables on its side blocking his view, but Price, who is with Pierce and 26, doesn't seem to care because he tells the driver he will give him $5 to turn up the radio. Be My Baby on WYNN, and the driver, black, non-American, does so. I'm resourceful, Price says. I'm creative, I'm young, unscrupulous, highly motivated, highly skilled. In essence, what I'm saying is that society cannot afford to lose me. I'm an asset. Price calms down, continues to stare at the cab's dirty window, probably at the word fear sprayed in red graffiti on the side of a McDonald's on 4th and 7th. I mean, the fact remains that no one gives a about their work. Everybody hates their job. I hate my job. You've told me you hate yours. What do? Go back to Los Angeles? Not an alternative. I didn't transfer from UCLA to Stanford to put up with this. I mean, am I alone in thinking we're not making enough money? Like in a movie. Another bus appears. Another poster for Les Miserables replaces the word. Not the same bus because someone has written the word over Eponine's face. Tim blurts out, I have a co-op here. I have a place in the Hamptons, for Christ's sake. Parents guy. It's the parents. I'm buying it from them. Will you turn this up? He snaps but distractingly at the driver, the crystal still blaring from the radio. It don't go up no higher, maybe the driver says. Timothy ignores him and irritably continues. I could stay living in the city if they just installed black bunks in the cabs, maybe the ODM3 or the ORC2 dynamic tuning systems. His voice softens here. Either one. Hit my friend, very hip. He takes off the expensive-looking Walkman from around his neck, still complaining. I hate to complain, I really do. About the trash, the garbage, the disease, about how filthy this city really is. And you know, and I know, that it is a stop. He continues talking as he opens his new to-me calfskin attached case he bought at D.F. Sanders. He places the Walkman in the case alongside a Panasonic wallet-sized cordless portable folding phone. He used to own the NEC 9000 portable, and pulls out today's newspaper. In one issue, let's see here. Strangled models, babies thrown from tenement rooftops, kids killed in the subway, a communist rally, mafia boss wiped out, Nazis. He flips through the pages excitedly. Baseball players with AIDS, more mafia, gridlock, the homeless, various maniacs dropping like flies in the streets, surrogate mothers, the cancellation of a soap opera, kids who broke into a zoo and tortured and burned various animals alive, more Nazis. And the joke is, the punchline is, it's all in this city, nowhere else, just here. It sucks. Well, wait, more Nazis, gridlock, baby sellers, black market, babies, AIDS, babies, baby junkies, building collapses on baby, maniac baby, gridlock, breach collapses. His voice stopped. He takes in a breath and then quietly says, his eyes fixed on a beggar at the corner of 2nd and 5th. That's the 24th one I've seen today. I've kept count. Then asks, without looking over, aren't you wearing the worsted navy blue blazer with the gray pants? Price is wearing a 6-button woolen silk suit by Ermenegildo Zegna, a cotton shirt with French cuffs by Ike Behar, a Ralph Lauren silk tie and leather wingtips by Fratelli Rossetti, band down to the post. There is moderately interesting story concerning 2 people who disappeared at a party aboard the yacht of a semi-noted New York socialite while the boat was circling the island. A residue of spattered blood and 3 smashed champagne glasses are the only clues. Foul play is suspected, and police think that perhaps a machete was the killer's weapon because of certain grooves and indentations found on the neck. No bodies have been found. There are no suspects. Price began his spiel today over lunch and then brought it up again during the squash game and continued ranting over drinks at areas where he had gone on, over 3 J&Bs and water. Much more interestingly, about the Fisher account that Paul Owen is handling. Price will not shut up. Diseases, he exclaims, his face tense with pain. There's this theory out now that if you can catch the AIDS virus through having sex with someone who is infected, then you can also catch anything, whether it's a virus per se or not. Alzheimer's, muscular dystrophy, hemophilia, leukemia, anorexia, diabetes, cancer, multiple sclerosis, cystic fibrosis, cerebral palsy, dyslexia. For Christ's sake, you can get dyslexia from... I'm not sure, guy, but I don't think dyslexia is a virus. Oh, who knows? They don't know that. Prove it. Outside, this gap on the sidewalls, black and bloated pigeons fight over scraps of hot dogs in front of a grazed papaya, while transvestites idly look on, and a police car cruises silently the wrong way down a one-way street. And the sky is low and gray, and in a cab that stopped in traffic across this one, a guy who looks a lot like Louis Carruthers waves over at Timothy, and when Timothy doesn't return the wave, the guy, slicked back hair, suspenders, horn-rimmed glasses, realizes it's not who he thought it was and looks back at his copy of USA Today. Panning down to the sidewalk, there's an ugly homeless bag lady holding a whip, and she cracks it at the pigeons who ignore it as they continue to peck and fight hungrily over the remains of the hot dog, and the police car disappears into an underground parking lot. But then, when you've come to the point where your reaction to the times is one of total and sheer acceptance, when your body has become somehow tuned into the insanity and you reach that point where it all makes sense, when it clicks, we get some crazy homeless who actually wants, listen to me, Bateman wants to be out on the streets. Those streets, see, those, he points. And we have a mayor who won't listen to her, a mayor who won't let them have her way. Holy Christ, let them freeze to death, put her out of her God, self-made misery. And look, you're back where you started, confused. Number 24, nope, 25, was going to be at Evelyn's. Wait, let me guess. He holds up a hand attached to an impeccable manicure. Ashley, Courtney, Modwin, Marina, Charles. Am I right so far? Maybe one of Evelyn's artiste friends from, oh my god, the East Village. You know the type, the ones who ask Evelyn if she has a nice dry white Chardonnay. He slaps a hand over his forehead and shuts his eyes, and now he mutters, jaw clenched, I'm leaving. I'm dumping Meredith. She's essentially daring me to like her. I'm gone. Why'd it take me so long to realize that she has all the personality of a god 26:27. I tell her I'm sensitive. I told her I was freaked out by the Challenger accident. What more does she want? I'm ethical, tolerant. I'm extremely satisfied with my life. I'm optimistic about the future. Aren't you? Sure, but, and all I get is, from her, 28, 29. Holy, it's a god cluster of bums, I tell you. He stopped suddenly as if exhausted and turning away from another advertisement for Les Miserables. Remembering something important asks, did you read about the host from the game show on TV? He killed 2 teenage boys. Depraved. Droll. Really droll. Price waits for a reaction. There is none. Suddenly. Upper West Side. He tells the driver to stop on the corner of 81st and Riverside since the street doesn't go the right way. Don't bother going around. Price begins. Maybe I go other way around, the cab driver says. Do not bother. Then barely an aside, teeth gritted, unsmiling. Nitwit. The driver brings the cab to a stop. 2 cabs behind this cab. Both blare their horns, then move on. Should we bring flowers? Nah, hell, you're banging her, Bateman. Why should we get Evelyn flowers? You better have change for a 50, he warns the driver, squinting at the red numbers on the meter. Damn it, steroids, sorry I'm tense. Thought you were off them. I was getting acne on my legs and arms and the UVA bath wasn't fixing it, so I started going to a tanning salon instead and got rid of it. Jesus, Bateman, you should see how ripped my stomach is. The definition, completely puffed out, he says, in a distant, odd way, while waiting for the driver to hand him the change. Ripped. He stiffs the driver on the tip, but the driver's gently thankful anyway. So long, Shlomo, Price winks. Damned, Price says as he opens the door. Coming out of the cab, he eyes a beggar on the street. Bingo, 30, wearing some sort of weird, tacky, filthy green jumpsuit, unshaven, dirty hair greased back, and jokingly, Price holds the cab's door open for him. The bum, confused and mumbling, eyes locked shamefully on the pavement, holds an empty styrofoam coffee cup up to us, clutched in a tentative hand. I suppose he doesn't want the cab, Price snickers, slamming the cab door. Ask him if he takes American Express. Do you take Express? The bum nods, yes, and moves away, shuffling slowly. It's cold for April and Price walks briskly down the street toward Evelyn's brown store, whistling, If I Were a Rich Man. The heat from his mouth, creating smoky plumes of steam, and swinging his doomy leather attaché case. A figure with slick-head back hair and a horn-rimmed glasses approaches in the distance, wearing a beige, double-breasted wool gabardine Cerruti 1881 suit, and carrying the same doomy leather attaché case from F. Sanders that Price has. And Timothy wonders aloud, is it Victor Powell? It can't be. The man passes under the fluorescent glare of a street lamp with a troubled look on his face that momentarily curves his lips into a slight smile, and he glances at Price almost as if they were acquainted, but just as quickly he realizes that he doesn't know. Just as quickly Price realizes it's not Victor Powell, and the man moves on. Thank God, Price mutters as he nears Evelyn's. It looked a lot like him. Powell and dinner at Evelyn's. These two go together about as well as Paisley and Blade. Price rethinks this. White socks with gray trousers. A slow dissolve, and Price is bounding up the steps outside the brownstone Evelyn's father brought her, grumbling about how he forgot to return the tapes he rented last night to Video Haven. He rings the bell. At the brownstone next to Evelyn's, a woman, high heels, great ass, leaves without locking her door. Price follows her with his gaze, and when he hears footsteps from inside coming down the hallway toward us, he turns around and straightens his Versace tie, ready to face whoever. Courtney opens the door, and she's wearing a Crisia cream silk blouse, a Crisia rust tweed shirt, and a silk satin Dior pumps from Manolo Blahnik. I shiver and hand her my black wool Giorgio or Armani overcoat, and she takes it from me, carefully air kissing my right cheek. Then she performs the same exact movements on Bryce while taking his Armani coat. The new Talking Heads on CD plays softly in the living room. A bit late, aren't we, boys? Courtney asks, smiling noddingly. Inept Asian cabbie. Bryce mutters, air kissing Courtney back. Do we have reservations somewhere? And please don't tell me Pastels is at 9. Courtney smiles, hanging up both coats in the hall closet. Eating in tonight, darlings. I'm sorry. I know. I tried to talk Evelyn out of it, but we're having sushi. Tim moves past her and down the foyer towards the kitchen. Evelyn, where are you? Evelyn? He calls out in a sing-song voice. We have to talk. It's good to see you, I tell Courtney. You look very pretty tonight. Your face has a youthful glow. You really know how to charm the ladies, Bateman. There is no sarcasm in Courtney's voice. Should I tell Evelyn you feel this way? She asks flirtatiously. No, I say, but I bet you'd like to. Come on, she says, taking my hands off her waist and placing her hands on my shoulders, steering me down the hall in the direction of the kitchen. We have to save Evelyn. She's been rearranging the sushi for the past hour. She's trying to spell your initials. The B in yellowtail, the B in tuna, but she thinks the tuna looks too pale. How romantic. And she doesn't have enough yellowtail to finish the B. Courtney breathes in. And so I think she's going to spell Tim's initials instead. Do you mind? She asks, only a bit worried. Courtney is Louise Carruthers' girlfriend. I'm terribly jealous and I think I'd better talk to Evelyn, I say, letting Courtney gently push me into the kitchen. Evelyn stands by a blonde wood counter wearing a Grisia cream silk blouse, a Grisia rust tweed skirt, and the same pair of silk satin Dorsey pumps Courtney has on. Her long blonde hair is pinned back into a rather severe-looking bun, and she acknowledges me without looking up from the oval Wilton stainless steel platter on which she has artfully arranged the sushi. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I wanted to go to this darling little new Salvadorian bistro on the Lower East Side. Bryce groans audibly, but we couldn't get reservations. Timothy, don't groan. She picks up a piece of the yellowtail and places it cautiously near the top of the platter, completing what looks like a capital T. She stands back from the platter and inspects it. I don't know. Oh, I'm so unsure. I told you to keep Finlandia in this place, Tim mutters, looking through the bottles, most of the magnums, at the bar. She never has Finlandia, he says to no one, to all of us. Oh God, Timothy can't handle Absolute, Evelyn asks, and then contemplatively to Courtney. The California roll should circle the rim of the plate. No. Bateman, drink. Bryce sighs. J&B rocks, I tell him, suddenly thinking it's strange that Meredith wasn't invited. Oh God, it's a mess, Evelyn gasps. I swear I'm going to cry. The sushi looks marvelous, I tell her soothingly. Oh, it's a mess, she wails. It's a mess. No, the sushi looks marvelous, I tell her, and in an attempt to be consoling as possible, I pick up a piece of the fluke and pop it in my mouth, groaning with inward pleasure, and hug Evelyn from behind, my mouth still full. I manage to say, delicious. She slaps at me in a playful way, obviously pleased with my reaction, and finally carefully air kisses my cheek and then turns back to Courtney. Bryce hands me a drink and walks toward the living room while trying to remove something invisible from his blazer. Evelyn, do you have a lint brush? I would rather have watched the baseball game or gone to the gym and worked out, or tried that Salvadorian restaurant that got a couple of pretty good reviews. One in New York Magazine, the other in the Times. Didn't have dinner here, but there is one good thing about dinner at Evelyn's. It's close to my place. Is it okay if the soy sauce isn't exactly at room temperature? Courtney is asking. I think there's ice in one of She's doped up watching MTV, and I want to watch the God McNeil Lehrer report. Evelyn is still opening large bottles of imported beer and absently mentions we've got to eat this stuff soon or else we're all going to be poisoned. She's got a green streak in her hair, I tell them, and she's smoking. Bateman, Tim says, still glaring at Evelyn. Yes, I say, Timothy. Yes, I say, Timothy. You're a doofus. I'll leave Patrick alone, Evelyn says. He's the boy next door. That's Patrick. You're not a doofus, are you, honey? Evelyn is on Moore's, and I move toward the bar to make myself another drink. Boy next door. Tim smirks and nods, then reserves his expression and hostilely asks Evelyn again if she has a lint brush. Evelyn finishes opening the Japanese beer bottles and tells Courtney to fetch Stash and Van Dan. We have to eat this now or else we're going to be poisoned, she murmurs, slowly moving her head, taking in the kitchen, making sure she hasn't forgotten anything. If I can tear them away from the latest Megadeth video. Courtney says before exiting. I have to talk to you, Evelyn says. What about? I come up to her. No, she says, and then pointing at Tim, to Bryce. Tim still glares at her fiercely. I say nothing and stare at Tim's drink. Be a hun, she tells me, and place the sushi on the table. Tempura is in the microwave and the sake is just about done boiling. Her voice trails off as she leads Bryce out of the kitchen. I am wondering where Evelyn got the sushi, the tuna, yellowtail, mackerel, shrimp, eel, even bonito. All seem so fresh, and there are piles of wasabi and clumps of ginger placed strategically around the Wilton platter. But I also like the idea that, I don't know, we'll never ask where it came from, and that the sushi will sit there in the middle of the glass table from Zona that Evelyn's father bought her, like some mysterious apparition from the Orient. And as I set the platter down, I catch a glimpse of my reflection on the surface of the table. My skin seems darker because of the candlelight, and I notice how good the haircut I got at Chio's last Wednesday looks. I make myself another drink. I worry about the sodium level in the soy sauce. 4 of us sit around the table waiting for Evelyn and Timothy to return from getting Bryce a lint brush. I sit at the head, taking large swallows of J&B. Vanden sits at the other end, reading disinterestedly from some East Village rag called Deception. Its glaring headline, The Death of Downtown. Stash has pushed a chopstick into a lone piece of yellowtail that lies on the middle of his plate, like some shiny, impaled insect, and the chopstick stands straight up. Stash occasionally moves a piece of sushi around the plate with the chopstick, but never looks up toward either myself or Van Dan or Courtney, who sits next to me sipping plum wine from a champagne glass. Evelyn and Timothy came back perhaps 20 minutes after we've seated ourselves, and Evelyn looks only slightly flushed. Tim glares at me as he takes the seat next to mine, a fresh drink in hand, and he leans over toward me, about to admit to something. When suddenly, Evelyn interrupts. Not there, Timothy. Then barely a whisper. Boy, girl, boy, girl. She gestures towards the empty chair next to Vanden. Timothy shifts his glare to Evelyn and hesitantly takes the seat next to Vanden, who yawns and turns the page of her magazine. Well, everybody, Evelyn says, smiling, pleased with the meal she has presented. Dig in. And then, after noticing the piece of sushi that Stash has pinned, he's now bent low over the plate, whispering at it. Her composure falters, but she smiles bravely and chirps. Plum wine, anyone? No one says anything until Courtney, who is staring at Stash's plate, lifts her glass uncertainly and says, trying to smile, It's delicious, Evelyn. Stash doesn't speak, even though he is probably uncomfortable at the table with us since he looks nothing like the other men in the room. His hair isn't slicked back, no suspenders, no horn-rimmed glasses. The clothes clothes black and ill-fitting, no urge to light and suck on a cigar, probably unable to secure a table at Campbell's, his net worth a pittance. Still, his behavior lacks warrant, and he sits there as if hypnotized by the glistening piece of sushi, and just as the table is about to finally ignore him, to look away and start eating, he sits up and loudly says, pointing an accusing finger at his plate, "It moved." Timothy glares at him with a contempt so total that I can't fully equal it, but I muster enough energy to come close. Vanden seems amused, and so now, unfortunately, does Courtney, who I'm beginning to think finds this monkey attractive, but I suppose if I were dating Louis Carruthers, I might do. Evelyn laughs good-naturedly and says, "Oh, Stash, you are a riot," and then asks worriedly, "Tempura?" Evelyn is an executive at a financial services company, FYI. "I'll have some," I tell her, and I lift a piece of eggplant off the platter, though I won't eat it because it's fried. The table begins to serve themselves, successfully ignoring Stash. I stare at Courtney as she chews and swallows. Evelyn, in an attempt to start a conversation, says, after what seems like a long, thoughtful silence, Vanden goes to Camden. "Oh, really?" Timothy asks, icily. "Where is that?" "Vermont," Vanden answers without looking up from her paper. I look over at Stash to see if he's pleased with Vanden's casually blatant lie, but he acts as if he wasn't listening, as if he were in some other room or some punk rock club in the bowels of this city, but so does the rest of the table, which bothers me, since I am fairly sure we all know it's located in New Hampshire. "Where did you go?" Vanden sighs after it finally becomes clear to her that no one is interested in Camden. "Well, I went to Les Roses," Evelyn starts, "and then to business school in Switzerland." "I also survived business school in Switzerland," Courtney says, "but I was in Geneva." Evelyn was in Lausanne. Vanden tosses the copy of Deception next to Timothy and smirks in a wan way, and though I am pissed off a little that Evelyn doesn't take in Vanden's condescension and hurl it back at her, the J&B has relieved my stress to a point where I don't care enough to say anything. Evelyn probably thinks Vanden is sweet. Law is confused. An artist. Bryce isn't eating, and neither is Evelyn. I suspect cocaine, but it's doubtful. While taking a large gulp from his drink, Timothy holds up the copy of Deception and chuckles to himself. "The death of downtown," he says, then pointing at each word in the headline. "Who gives a rat's ass?" I automatically accept Stash to look up from his plate, but he still stares at the lone piece of sushi, smiling to himself and nodding. "Hey," Vanden says as if she was insulted, "that affects us." "Oh, ho, ho," Tim says warningly. "That affects us. What about the massacres in Sri Lanka, honey? Doesn't that affect us, too? What about Sri Lanka?" "Well, that's a cool club in the village," Vanden shrugs. "Yeah, that affects us, too." Suddenly, Stash speaks without looking up. "That's called the Donka." He sounds pissed, but his voice is even and low, his eyes still on the sushi. "It's called the Donka, not Sri Lanka." "Got it. The Donka." Vanden looks down, then meekly says, "Oh, I mean, don't you know anything about Sri Lanka? About how the Sikhs are killing like tons of Israelis down there?" Timothy goads her. "Doesn't that affect us?" "Kappa Maggie roll anyone." Evelyn cuts in cheerfully, holding up a plate. "Oh, come on, Bryce," I say. "There are more important problems than Sri Lanka to worry about. Sure, our foreign policy is important, but there are more pressing problems at hand." "Like what?" he asks without looking away from Vanden. "By the way, why is there an ice cube in my soy sauce?" "No," I start hesitatingly. "Well, we have to end apartheid for one, and slow down the nuclear arms race, stop terrorism and world hunger, ensure a strong national defense, prevent the spread of communism in Central America, work for a natural resources in wilderness areas and reduce the influence of political action committees. The table stares at me uncomfortably, even Stash, but I'm on a roll. But economically, we're still a mess. We have to find a way to hold down the inflation rate and reduce the deficit. We also need to provide training and jobs for the unemployed, as well as protect existing American jobs from unfair foreign imports. We have to make America the leader in new technology. At the same time, we need to promote economic growth and business expansion, and hold the line against federal income taxes and hold down interest rates while promoting opportunities for small businesses and controlling mergers and big corporate takeovers. Bryce nearly spits up his absolute after this comment, but I try to make eye contact with each one of them, especially Van Dan, who, if she got rid of the green streak in the leather and got some color, maybe joined an Arabics class, slipped on a blouse, something by Laura Ashley. Might be pretty, but why does she sleep with Stash? He's lumpy and pale, and has a bad cropped haircut, and is at least 10 pounds overweight. There's no muscle tone beneath the black shirt. But we can't ignore our social needs either. We have to stop people from abusing the welfare system. We have to provide food and shelter for the homeless and oppose racial discrimination and promote civil rights while also promoting equal rights for women, but change the abortion laws to protect the right to life, yet still somehow maintain women's freedom of choice. We also have to control the influx of illegal immigrants. We have to encourage return to traditional moral values and curb graphic sex and violence on TV, in movies, and popular music, everywhere. Most importantly, we have to promote general social concern and less materialism in young people. I finish my drink. The table sits facing me in total silence. Courtney's smiling and seems pleased. Timothy just shakes his head in bemused disbelief. Evelyn is completely mystified by the turn the conversation has taken, and she stands unsteadily and asks if anyone would like dessert. I have sorbet, she says, as if in a daze. Kiwi carambola, chirimoya, cactus fruit, and oh, what is that? She stops, her zombie monotone, and tries to remember the last flavor. Oh yes, Japanese pear. Everyone stays silent. Tim quickly looks over at me. I glance at Courtney, then back at Tim, then at Evelyn. Evelyn meets my glance, then worriedly looks over at Tim. I also look over at Tim, then at Courtney, and then at Tim again, who looks at me once more before answering slowly and surely. Cactus pear. Cactus fruit, Evelyn corrects. I look suspiciously over at Courtney, and after she says chirimoya, I say kiwi, and then Van Dan says kiwi also, and Stash says quietly, but enunciating each syllable very clearly, chocolate chip. The worry that flickers across Evelyn's face when she hears this is instantaneously replaced by a smiling and remarkably good-natured mask, and she says, "Oh, Stash, you know I don't have chocolate chip, though admittedly that's pretty exotic for a sorbet. I told you I have chirimoya, cactus pear, carambola, cactus fruit. I know. I heard you, he says, waving her off. Surprise me. Okay, Evelyn says. Courtney, would you like to help? Of course. Courtney gets up and I watch as her shoes click away in the kitchen. No cigars, boys, Evelyn calls out. Wouldn't dream of it, Bryce says, putting a cigar back into his coat pocket. Stash is still staring at the sushi with an intensity that troubles me, and I have to ask him, hoping he will catch my sarcasm. Did it, move again, or something? Vanden has made a smiley face out of all the dishes of California roll she piled onto her plate, and she holds it up for Stash's inception and asks, Rex? Cool, Stash grunts. Evelyn comes back with the sorbet and Odeon margarita, glasses and an unopened bottle of Glenfiddich, which remains unopened while we eat the sorbet. Courtney has to leave early to meet Louise at a company party at Bedlam, a new club in Midtown. Stash and Venden depart soon after to go score something somewhere in Soho. I am the only one who saw Stash take the piece of sushi from his plate and slip it into his pocket of his olive green leather bomber jacket. When I mention this to Evelyn, while she loads the dishwasher, she gives me a look so hateful that it seems doubtful we will have sex later on tonight. But I stick around anyway. So does Price. He is now lying on a late 18th century Apasin carpet, drinking espresso from a cerulean coffee cup on the floor of Evelyn's room. I'm lying on Evelyn's bed holding a tapestry pillow from Jenny B. Goudet, nursing a cranberry and absolute. Evelyn sits at her dressing table, brushing her hair, a Ralph Lauren green and white striped silk robe draped over a very nice body, and she is gazing at her reflection in the vanity mirror. Am I the only one who grasps the fact that Stash assumed his piece of sushi was, I cough, then resume, a pet? Please stop inviting your artiste friends over, Tim says tiredly. I'm sick of being the only one at dinner who hasn't talked to an extraterrestrial. It was only that once, Evelyn says, inspecting a lip lost in her own placid beauty. And at Odeon, no less, Price mutters. I vaguely wonder why I wasn't invited to Odeon for the artist dinner. Had Evelyn picked up the tab? Probably. And I suddenly picture a smiling Evelyn, secretly morose, sitting at a whole table of Stash's friends, all of them constructing little log cabins with their French fries or pretending their grilled salmon was alive and moving the piece of fish around the table. The fish conversing with each other about the art scene, new galleries, maybe even trying to fit the fish into the log cabin made of French fries. If you remember well enough, I hadn't seen one either, Evelyn says. No, but Bateman's your boyfriend, so that counted. Price guffaws, and I toss the pillow at him. He catches it and throws it back at me. Leave Patrick alone. He's the boy next door, Evelyn says, rubbing some kind of cream into her face. You're not an extraterrestrial, are you, honey? Should I even dignify that question with an answer? I sigh. Oh, baby. She bounds into the mirror, looking at me in its reflection. I know you're not an extraterrestrial. Relief, I muttered to myself. No, but Stash was there at Odeon that night, Price continues, and then looking over at me. At Odeon? Are you listening, Bateman? No, he wasn't, Evelyn says. Oh, yes, he was. But his name wasn't Stash last time. It was Horseshoe, or Magnet, or Lego, or something equally adult. Price sneers. I forget. Timothy, what are you going on about? Evelyn asks tiredly. I'm not even listening to you. She wets a cotton ball, wipes it across her forehead. No, we were at Odeon. Price sits up with some effort. And don't ask me why, but I distinctly remember him ordering the tuna cappuccino. Carpaccio, Evelyn corrects. No, Evelyn dear, love of my life. I distinctly remember him ordering the tuna cappuccino, Price says, staring up at the ceiling. up his hands, his eyes closed. No, I smile, trying to integrate myself into the conversation. Use Furiuchi. Yeah, Tim says, I guess. His eyes now open, zone in on Evelyn. Timothy, lay off, Evelyn says. She's a Camden girl. What do you expect? Oh God, Timothy moans. I'm so sick of hearing Camden girl problems. Oh, my boyfriend. I love him, but he loves for someone else. And oh, how I longed for him, and he ignored me. And blah, 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 blah. God, how boring. College kids, it matters, you know. It's sad, right, Bateman? Yeah, matters. Sad. See, Bateman agrees with me, Bryce says smugly. Oh, he does not. With a Kleenex, Evelyn wipes off whatever she rubbed on. Patrick is not a cynic, Timothy. He's the boy next door, aren't you, honey? No, I'm not. I whisper to myself. I am a evil psychopath. Oh, so what? Evelyn says. She's not the brightest girl in the world. Ah, understatement of the century, Bryce cries out. But Stash isn't the brightest guy either. Perfect couple. Did they meet on Love Connection or something? Leave them alone, Evelyn says. Stash is talented, and I'm sure we're underestimating Vanden. This is a girl. Bryce turns to me. Listen, Bateman. This is a girl. Evelyn told me this. This is a girl who rented High Noon because she thought it was a movie about, he gulps, marijuana farmers. It just hit me, I say. But have we deciphered what Stash? I assume he has a last name, but don't tell me. I don't want to know. Evelyn does for a living. First of all, he's perfectly decent and nice, Evelyn says in his defense. The man asked for a chocolate chip sorbet, for Christ's sakes. Timothy wails, disbelieving. What are you talking about? Evelyn ignores this, pulls off her Tina Chow earrings. He's a sculptor, she says tearsily. Oh, bullshit, Timothy says. I remember talking to him at Odeon. He turns to me again. This was when he ordered the tuna cappuccino. And I'm sure, if left unattended, would have ordered the salmon at lat. And he told me he did parties. So that technically makes him, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Evelyn, a caterer. He's a caterer, Bryce cries out, not a sculptor. Oh gosh, calm down, Evelyn says, rubbing more cream into her face. That's like saying you're a poet. Timothy is drunk, and I'm beginning to wonder when he will vacate the premises. Well, Evelyn begins. I've been known to. You're a word processor, Tim blurts out. He walks over to Evelyn and bows next to her, checking out his reflection in the mirror. Have you been getting weight, Tim? Evelyn asks thoughtfully. She studies Tim's head in the mirror and says, your face looks rounder. Timothy, in retaliation, smells Evelyn's neck and says, what is that fascinating odor? Obsession. Evelyn smiles flirtatiously, gently pushing Timothy away. It's obsession. Patrick, get your friend away from me. No, wait, Timothy says, sniffing loudly. It's not obsession, it's... And then, with a face twisted in mock horror, it's... Oh my God, it's QT Insta-10. Evelyn pauses and considers her options. She inspects Bryce's head one more time. Are you losing your hair, Evelyn? Evelyn, Tim says, don't change the subject, but... And then gently worried. Now that you mention it, too much gel. Concerned, he runs a hand over it. Maybe, Evelyn says. Now make yourself useful and do. Sit down. Well, at least it's not green, and I haven't tried to cut it with a butter knife, Tim says, referring to Vanden's dye job and Stash's admittedly cheap bad haircut. Haircut that's bad because it's cheap. Are you gaining weight? Evelyn asks, more seriously this time. Jesus, Tim says, about to turn away, offended. No, Evelyn, your face definitely looks rounder, Evelyn says, less chiseled. I don't believe this, Tim again. He looks deep into the mirror. She continues brushing her hair, but the strokes are less definite because
especially looking at Tim. He notices this and then smells her neck, and I think he licks it. And I think he looks at it quickly and grins. Is that QT? He asks. Come on, you can tell me. I smell it. No, Evelyn says, unsmiling. You use that. No, as a matter of fact, I don't. I go to a tanning salon. I'm quite honest about that, he says. You're using QT. You're projecting, she says lamely. I told you, Tim says. I go to a tanning salon. I mean, I know it's expensive, but Bryce blanches. Still, QT. Oh, how brave to admit you go to a tanning salon, she says. QT, he chuckles. I don't know what you're talking about, Evelyn says and resumes brushing her hair.
Patrick, escort your friend out of here. Now, Bryce is on his knees and he smells and sniffs at Evelyn's bare legs and she's laughing. I tense up. Oh God, she moans loudly. Get out of here. You are orange, he laughs on his knees, his head in her lap. You look orange. I am not, she says, her voice a low, prolonged growl of pain, ecstasy. Jerk. I lie on the bed watching the two of them. Timothy is in her lap trying to push his head under the Ralph Lauren robe. Evelyn's head is thrown back with pleasure and she is trying to push him away, but playfully, and hitting him only lightly on his back with her Jan Hove brush. And I am fairly sure that Timothy and Evelyn are having an affair. Timothy is the only interesting person I know. You should go, she says finally, panting. She has stopped struggling with him. He looks up at her, flashing a toothy, good-looking smile, and says, anything the lady requests. Thank you, she says in a voice that sounds to me tinged with disappointment. He stands up. Dinner tomorrow. I'll have to ask my boyfriend, she says, smiling at me in the mirror. Will you wear that sexy black Anne Klein dress? He asks, his hands on her shoulders, whispering this into her ear as he smells it. Bateman's not welcome. I laugh good-naturedly while getting up from the bed, escorting him out of the room. Wait, my espresso, he calls out. Evelyn laughs, then claps, as if delighted by Timothy's reluctance to vacate. Come on, fellow, I say as I push him roughly out of the bedroom. Betty by time. He still manages to blow her a kiss before I get him out and away. He is completely silent as I walk him out of the brownstone. After he leaves, I pour myself a brown brandy and drink it from a checkered Italian tumbler. And when I come back to the bedroom, I find Evelyn lying in bed watching the Home Shopping Club. I lie down next to her and loosen my arm mani tie. Finally, I ask something without looking at her. Why don't you just go for Bryce? Oh God, Patrick, she says, her eyes shut. Why Bryce? Bryce? And she says this in a way that makes me think she had sex with him. He's rich, I say. Everybody's rich, she says, concentrating on the TV screen. He's good looking, I tell her. Everybody's good looking, Patrick, she says remotely. He has a great body, I say. Everybody has a great body now, she says. I place the tumbler on the nightstand and roll over on top of her while I kiss and lick her neck. She stares passionately at the widescreen, Panasonic remote controls television set and lowers the volume. I pull my Armani shirt up and place her hand on my torso, wanting her to feel how rock hard, how halved my stomach is, and I flex the muscles. Grateful it's light in the room so she can see how bronzed and defined my abdomen has become. You know, she says clearly, Stash tested positive for the AIDS virus and, she pauses, something on the screen catching her interest. The volume goes slightly up and then is lowered. And I think you'll probably sleep with Van Den tonight. Good, I say, biting lightly at her neck, one of my hands on a firm, cold breast. You're evil, she says, slightly excited, running her hands along my broad, hard shoulder. No, I sigh. Just your fiancé. After attempting to have sex with her for around 15 minutes, I decide not to continue trying. She says, you know you can always be in better shape. I reach for the tumbler of brandy. I finish it. Evelyn is addicted to Pornate, an antidepressant. I lie hairline looks like it's receding, she murmurs.
It's not. I find myself saying. It's hard to tell. My hair is very thick, and I can't tell if I'm losing it. I really doubt it.
I walk back to my place and say goodnight to a doorman I don't recognize. He could be anybody, and then dissolve into my living room high above the city. The sounds of the tokens singing "The Lion Sleeps Tonight" coming from the glow of the Wurlitzer 1015 jukebox, which is not as good as the hard-to-find Wurlitzer 850 that stands in the corner of the living room. I, thinking about first Evelyn, then Courtney, then Vanden, and then Evelyn again. But right before a week, about a near-naked model in a halter top I saw today in a Calvin Klein advertisement.
Alright guys, so that was kind of like chapter 1, I guess. That was page 1 to 24. So I'll make another video eventually talking about the next event titled Warning. But yeah, so pretty interesting. It's it's an interesting book. I saw the movie. I actually kind of liked the movie. It was funny. But it is a very freaky book, and it's definitely not for kids, obviously. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoy this video. It's new content. Let me know how you guys like it. Leave a like, subscribe. Yeah, this is Boonies 2 by 69.